Alright, y'all. So I am so sorry that I had to be out today. Nothing's wrong or anything. I just had a couple of appointments I had to get to. So your substitute should have given you back the paper from yesterday that says Practice Writing Linear Equations Part 1. So we are going to go over this paper, the front side, together right now. So, number 1, we need to write the equation of a line that has a slope of 1/2 and goes through the coordinate 4, -5. Well, the nice thing about being told the slope is I have half of the information I need for the equation. If it says the slope is 1/2, then I can go ahead and write y equals 1/2 x. But what I don't have is the y-intercept. So I'm just going to have to leave it as y equals 1/2 x plus something. Okay? Well, now that I've got this ordered pair, 4, -5. 4 is an x-coordinate, and -5 is a y-coordinate. I can plug those in for the y and for the x up here. So, this y, I'm going to replace it with a -5. And this x, I'm going to replace it with a 4. And then rewrite this as -5 equals 1/2 times 4 plus b. Now that I've changed y out for the -5, and I've changed x out for the 4, all I need to do is figure out what b is by getting it by itself. So what I'm going to do next is solve this equation for b. 1/2 times 4 is 2. And then, to get b completely by itself, we will subtract both sides by 2. -5 minus 2 is -7. And with that, now I know what this missing value is up here. So, let me rewrite this equation. Our answer is y equals 1/2 x, and then this -7. Okay. The next one. We need the slope to be -7, and we need it to go through the ordered pair 1, 13. So, I'm going to go ahead and write out y equals. Since it gave me the slope, I'll go ahead and use that. Y equals -7x plus b. So again, I know the slope, I just don't have the y-intercept to be able to write this in slope-intercept form. Then I'll do the same thing I did with number 1. Use that ordered pair, 1, 13, as my x and my y. So x is 1, y is 13. So I've got 13 equals -7 times 1 plus b. Then -7 times 1 is -7. And then I will add 7 to both sides to get 20 equals b. Okay, well, just like before, now I know that my y-intercept would have been 20. So let me go back up here and rewrite this as y equals -7x plus 20. Okay, so let me give you just a second to get caught up on number 1 and number 2. Okay. Okay, and the notes in this video will be posted to your Canvas page as well in case you need to get caught up on anything. But I'm going to go ahead and jump down to number 3. So 3 and 4 have a little bit of an extra layer of difficulty added to it in that it doesn't tell you the slope either. To get an equation in point-slope form, or excuse me, in slope-intercept form, we need the slope and the y-intercept. So with these 2 points though, I can find the slope. And how we do that is we make a little table and say the first order pair was -5, -3, and the second order pair was 3, 5. And then we just figure out how much the x's change. -5 up to 3 goes up 8. -3 down to, -3 up to 5 is also up 8. And then divide the change in the y values by the change in the x values. Anytime you see triangle y over triangle x, that's just the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values. Well, the change in the y values is 8. The change in the x values on the bottom is also 8. And 8 divided by 8 is 1. So now I know my slope is 1. That kind of takes me back to where we've been with the first 2 questions. I know my equation should look like y equals 1x plus something. Now, in all full fairness, you don't have to write that 1. You could just write y equals x plus b, and that would be totally fine. In fact, on a multiple choice, you probably won't see that 1 there at all. Now, we need to figure out what the y-intercept is. And to do that, we need to plug in either one of these points. So I could plug in -5, -3, or I could plug in 3, 5. I'm going to plug in the 3, 5 just because it's going to avoid some negatives. So plug in 3 for the x and plug in 5 for the y. That's going to give us 5 equals 1x is really just x, so I'm going to say 5 equals 3 plus b. Then subtract 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. And we're done. So that tells me that the y-intercept I was looking for is 2. Meaning the equation that we're looking for here is going to be y equals x plus 2. Again, if you want to write y equals 1x, that's totally fine. I did it here. But on a multiple choice, you would never see that. Most math teachers wouldn't write the 1 in front of the x. Okay. Number 4. We need to write the equation of a line that goes through -10, 4 and 5, 1. So I'm going to go ahead and put those points into a table. The x's from -10 all the way up to 5 goes up 15. The y's from 4 down to 1 go down 3. And so my change in my y values divided by the change in the x values comes out to -3 over 15, which does reduce to -1/5 or -0.2. Either way you want to write that slope is totally fine, -1/5 or -0.2. Either way works. Okay. Now that we've done that, just like before, we know that our equation should look like y equals -1/5 x plus b, or -0.2 x plus b. Either way works just fine. and then pick one of these 2 points. It does not matter which one. I'm going to pick, let's go with the second point. Again, it does not matter which point you pick. In fact, on my original answer key, I picked the first point. We get the same answer either way. Plug in a 1 for y. So I have 1 equals negative 1/5, and then plug in a 5 for x. Okay. Multiply negative 1/5 times 5. Negative 1/5 of 5 is just negative 1. Be careful here. You need to add 1 to both sides to get 2 equals b. Again, because that was a negative 1, I needed to add 1 to cancel it out. And so 1 plus 1 is 2. Final answer here is y equals negative 1/5 x plus 2. Okay. Number 5. I tried to be a little sneaky because it's exactly like the ones we've already been doing, except I asked you the question in a different way. It said, write the equation of a linear function that has a y-intercept of negative 3 and an x-intercept of 6. So, I didn't give you the slope, and it also doesn't look like I gave you any points. But I actually did, because a y-intercept of negative 3, if I just draw a little coordinate plane over here right quick, a y-intercept of negative 3 is just this point right here, which is 0, negative 3. And then similarly, an x-intercept of 6 would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 steps out over this way. And that ordered pair would be 6, 0. So, now I can figure out my slope by putting those 2 ordered pairs into a table. 0, negative 3, and 6, 0. The change in the x values from 0 up to 6 is plus 6. The change in the y values from negative 3 up to 0 is plus 3. The change in the the change in the y divided by the change in the x comes out to 3 divided by 6, which is just 1/2. Now that I've got that, I know my equation should look like y equals 1/2 x plus something. I just don't know what the y-intercept is yet. And so as I was grading these, a majority of people did this step next. They picked one of these 2 points, and they said, let me use 0, negative 3, plug in negative 3 for the y, plug in 0 for the x, and pretty simply they solved for b. 1/2 times 0 is 0. And then you don't even need to subtract or add 0 to both sides. It's nothing. And so we say, oh, yes, yes, yes. The y-intercept is negative 3. And so we come back over here, and we say y equals 1/2 x minus 3. And that is great, because that's correct. And, I mean, you could have plugged in 6 and 0 and gotten the same thing. You would have ended up with negative 3 as the value for b. But I need us to remember something. B is the y-intercept, and the whole point of this is because we don't know the y-intercept. Let's go back up to the original question. Write the equation of a linear function that has a y-intercept of y equals -3. So, funnily enough, it's been a while since we read the question, but it actually did tell us the y-intercept. So really, once we got to this point with the slope, we could have said, oh, the equation is y equals 1/2 x minus 3. We got there eventually, right? Now, the other thing is, we could also have seen this if we had just really free-handed a graph, because the y-intercept is, of course, -3. And between those 2 points, it goes up 3 and right 6. Well, that's just the change in the x and the y values. So anytime you've got 2 points that are nice and pretty on the axes like that, you might be able to just mentally say, hey, the slope is 1/2. Either way works just fine. Okay. On the back, this was going to be an exit ticket from yesterday, but the front side ended up being all we got to. So originally what was going to happen is it was going to be one of those things where I only give you the first number, and then you come and check with me, and then if it's right, I'll give you the next number, and blah, 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 blah. Well, since I'm not here, this is how it's going to work. I'm going to tell you the number for number 6, so what this y-coordinate is, and then you're going to have about a minute to answer number 6, okay? So, I am going to go ahead and give you that number. The missing value is 3. Let's take about a minute, 2 minutes to figure out the equation of a line that has a slope of -2 and goes through -1, 3. All right, y'all. So, for number 6, I've got the slope is -2. So I know I can say y equals -2x plus something. I'm going to plug in -1 and 3 as the xy ordered pair that line should go through. And so write this as 3 equals -2 times -1 plus b. And then solve for b. -2 times -1 is just 2. And then subtract 2 from both sides. That's going to give me 1 equals b. So now I know that my equation should have been y equals -2x plus 1. Okay, the missing value for number 7, the slope is going to be 1/2. So take a couple minutes and see if you can write the equation of a line that has a slope of 1/2 and goes through the ordered pair 2, 3. All right, so number 7. I've already got the slope as 1/2. So I can go ahead and write y equals 1/2 x plus something. And then I can plug in the 2, 3 as my xy ordered pair. So since 3 is the y coordinate, plug that in for y. And say 3 equals 1/2 times 2 plus b. 1/2 times 2 is just 1. And then subtract 1 from both sides. 3 minus 1 is 2. So now I know the y-intercept is 2. So my equation is y equals 1/2 x plus 2. Okay, for number 8 and number 9, you're missing one of the values from the ordered pair, and you need first to find the slope, and then use that slope to do the exact same thing we did up here. So, the missing value for number 8, this y value, should be 16. So take a couple minutes and try number 8. right. For number 8, the first thing I'm going to need to do is put these two ordered pairs into a table so I can figure out what the slope is. So I've got 4, 2, and I've got negative 3, 16. So the x values 4 to negative 3 go down 7. 2 up to 16 go up 14. The change in the y value is 14 divided by the change in the x value is negative 7 gives me a slope of negative 2. So now I know that my answer should look like y equals negative 2x plus something. Well, it does not matter which ordered pair you plug in. I'm just going to plug in the 4, 2 because I don't like negatives and that's a larger number than that, so it's easier to do mental math there. So plug in the 4 for our x and the 2 for our y to get 2 equals negative 2 times 4 plus b. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Then add 8 to both sides, and you get that the y-intercept is 10. So the equation of a line that goes through 4, 2, and 3, 16 is y equals negative 2x plus 10. Okay. Oh, let me show my work at least on that. Negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Add 8 to both sides. You get 10. Okay, number 9. Same thing as number 8. The missing coordinate, though, is 0. So take a couple minutes and try number 9. right. So, number 9. When I put these two ordered pairs into a table 0, -4, and 1, -3, I see that the x's go up by 1 and the y's go up by 1, because -4 up to -3 is also going up 1. And so 1 divided by 1 is just 1. So the slope is 1. That means that my equation should look like y equals x plus b. Now, you can put y equals 1x there if you want, or not. Doesn't matter. And then pick either one of these ordered pairs to plug in for x and y. I'm going to pick 1, -3. I don't really know why, honestly. I'm just picking them. So, -3 is the y value. 1 is the x value. And then subtract 1 from both sides. -3 minus 1 is -4. So, final answer here is y equals x minus 4. But I have a little bit of a confession to make about number 9. This is another one where I was being a little bit sneaky, a little bit silly with it. 0, -4, this ordered pair, that is the y-intercept. 0, whatever is always going to be your y-intercept, so you didn't need to do any of this math. You could have said, hey, the slope is 1, and the y-intercept is -4. Boom, done. But doing this math got you the same answer either way. But do keep your eye out for any 0, whatevers, because that ordered pair is telling you what the y-intercept is without you even realizing it. Okay, last one. Look at this beautiful story. So let's read it together. Raymond made a New Year's resolution to save money. He was keeping track of a savings account, but he spilled coffee on his account summary, and he only remembers the following information. Starting on January 1st, the same amount of money is transferred from his checking account to this account each day, but he doesn't know how much is transferred daily. He opened the account prior to January 1st with an initial deposit, but he doesn't know what that initial deposit was either. On January 25th, the account had a total of $72.50. And by the end of the month, on January 31st, the account was valued at, I'll tell you in just a second. Write the equation of a linear function that can be used to determine the total amount saved, y, as a function of the number of days, x, since New Year's Day. So, let me go ahead and just get you started on this. So, it's the same amount of money transferred each day. So, back whenever I first opened my bank account, I was part of this Young Money Savers program that Wells Fargo did at the time that basically just took my checking account, and anytime I spent money, it took $1 from my checkings and put it into my savings account. And so this is sort of a similar thing, except for just every day it takes a certain amount of money, right? We just don't know how much money that is. But the fact that it's the same amount of money each day also tells me that this is modeled by a linear function, which it's also saying right here. He opened the account prior to January 31st with an initial deposit, so this whole thing started on January 1st. So January 1st would be the first time that whatever money is moved over. January 2nd would be the second time. So what I'm putting all that together is January 25th, total of $72.50 gives me an ordered pair of 25, $72.50. This would be the ordered pair 31, and then I'll tell you. And then all we got to do is say 25, $72.50 and 31, whatever this y value is. So here's the information you need to actually answer the question. The missing value is $87.50. Okay, take a few minutes and try number 10. All right, y'all. So now that we know that on January 31st the account was worth $87.50, then we've got the other ordered pair, 31, $87.50. So let's figure out the slope. Day 25 to day 31. By the way, if you're ever like, wait, how is he getting these numbers? I know I said this yesterday, but I'll just say it again. All we're doing is saying 31 minus 25. And day 25 up to day 31 is a difference of 6 days. And then 72.50 up to 87.50 is a difference of plus $15. And so our slope, the change in the y values divided by the change in the x values, is $15 over 6 days, which means $2.50 per day were moved over. So the same amount of money that's transferred, $2.50 per day. Now, to get the equation, we need to go ahead and just write y equals 250 x plus b. Because we know that the total savings goes up by $2.50 per day starting at whatever the initial deposit was. We just don't know what that was yet. But we can just use some of the information. Let's use 25 and 72.50. 72.50 equals 250 times 25 plus b. So what I did there is I took that first ordered pair and plugged in the 72.50 for y and the 25 in for x. And now, let me grab my calculator because I'm not doing this one in my head. 250 times 25 is 62.50. And then subtract 62.50 from both sides. And you get 10. So that is our y-intercept, meaning the equation that we would use to model this is y equals 250 x plus 10. So it looks like this equation, or this account, is auto-drafting $2.50 per day into the savings account, and he started with $10 whenever he opened the account. So on day one it pulled $2.50 out, and it said, okay, this $10 plus $2.50, on day one the account was worth $12.50, and then $15, and then $17.50, and it just kept building until on day 25 it was worth $72.50, and on day 31 it was worth $87.50. Okay, so what I need y'all to do with these papers is put them in your 3-ring binder just after yesterday's notes, and you do not need to add anything to the table of contents. Okay, we're just going to skip a day in the table of contents because this is the stuff from yesterday. Just put this in your notebook behind yesterday's notes, and then you're going to need to get a computer. If you need to borrow one from me, just ask your substitute to get you one from the little green storage lock boxes from behind my desk. You can borrow one, just make sure you give it back. They should not leave my classroom. You're going to want to go to check Canvas and look in that grid for today's date, and there should be a button for you to click on that'll take you into some more detailed instructions on what you need to do for the rest of class today. It shouldn't be a whole awful lot, but you've got plenty of time to get it done. Just make sure you're reading the directions. Okay, y'all have a wonderful day. Bye.